Hi guys! So I had a few requests for this story about my house fire. Today is the 7-year anniversary. I always remember it because it was May the 4th and our kids always made May the 4th a big deal. So my day started out like normal, like every day. I worked 12-hour continental night shifts in a call center, and I'd just gotten off one brutally long shift, and it had been the third night in a row that I'd worked, and I'd had 2 days prior to that with absolutely no good sleep at all. So I was exhausted, but I got home, picked up our kids to take them to school. So I drove everybody to school, and then when I arrived home, it was about 9 a.m. I threw a pot roast in the crock pot to make for dinner so it could cook while I slept. I took 2 sleeping pills because I was tired of having no sleep, and I wanted to make sure that I slept at least decent enough to make it through one more night of work. Then I settled in for bed like I normally do. I had a mask to cover light, I had a fan running to cover noise, I had noise cancelling headphones in on top, and my bedroom door closed, so that because we lived in a place where a lot of big heavy truck traffic went by during the day, so I wanted to make sure I canceled out as much noise as I could. I was so desperate to get a good sleep. So it was about an hour and a half into my sleep when I finally realized something was wrong, because I'd been sucked under by the 2 sleeping pills I took, and I was dead out. But at some point the room filled up with enough smoke that I realized something was wrong, because I had slept right through the blaring smoke detectors. All the noise cancelling that I prepared definitely worked. So the room filled up with enough smoke that I started coughing, and it shook me awake enough that I noticed the smell. And that's when I sat up and I took the mask off and took the headphones off, and the room was full of smoke, and I could hear the smoke detectors blaring, and I flipped out. I was like, holy shit, my house is on fire. So I started running down the stairs of our bedroom. Now, where our bedroom was we had a big old like square Victorian, and the bedroom was an addition off the back of the house. It was kind of a separate building that was attached onto it, and our bedroom was a loft in that back section, so it was kind of completely separate from the house in many ways. I started going down the stairs to the first floor, and when I opened the door, I got assaulted by like this huge wave of flames and smoke. But I ran through that, and when I ran around the corner, I could see the doorway into my kitchen, and that's where it was just a wall of flames there. And I realized that the main house was the part that was on fire. The addition wasn't quite on fire yet. Lucky for me, there was a door out the side of the addition, so I ran out there in my nightie and I ran around the front of the house. Now, we had a ton of pets. We had 3 cats, 2 turtles, 2 chinchillas, 2 hedgehogs, and 2 guinea pigs at the time in the house. And I was freaking out because all my kids' pets were up in the second floor of the main house, and I couldn't get through the kitchen to get through there to get to them. So I ran around the front of the house. The door was locked because of course I was alone in the house and sleeping. So I picked up a big brick from the front yard and just threw it through the front window of the door to unlock the door. But when I tried to run up the stairs, the smoke coming from the second floor was so thick, I made it maybe 5 steps up and realized that, like, if I went up there, I probably wasn't going to get back out. So I ran back out the front door. I ran to my next door neighbor's house because they were usually home, and banging on their door. Nobody answered. Then I ran to the next house, banging on their door. Nobody answered there either. So I finally ran into the street and flagged down a car that was driving by and asked them to please call 911 because my house was on fire. Now you gotta understand, guys, I'm in my nightgown in the middle of the street. This was a small town, right? And I was so groggy from the 2 sleeping pills. I was hysterical and had no idea what was going on. Not really. So luckily the fire department was like 1 block away. So it was volunteer fire. They put the siren out and they were at the house in minutes. It was amazing how fast they were. I, of course, was still hysterical about all our pets because I thought to myself, in my state, all I kept thinking was, I can't tell my kids that in addition to everything they own being burnt to the ground, that their pets also died. So that was the only thing I kept telling the fire department, you gotta get the animals, please. I didn't care if they saved anything else, right? So the good thing is, by a miracle that I couldn't even imagine how it happened, they managed to get all the pets saved. Like everybody made it out alive, it astonished me how remarkable it was, because the smoke up there was very bad and they were all trapped. So that made me so grateful for the response, because without the fire department that would have never happened. So anyway, they put it out. Most of the part that was burnt was the kitchen and parts of the dining room. Unfortunately though, because of the construction of the house, it was really old lath and plaster walls. Smoke damaged everything in the house. So we ended up having to gut the whole thing and rebuild the inside pretty much from the outside walls, which ended up being a good thing. It turned into a really beautiful house at the end, but was an ordeal also all by itself. So the thing was, after they put the fire out, the fire chief asked me to walk through with him and let him know my timeline of events, because he needed to be able to reconstruct the fire and see if he could figure out what the cause was. So at one point, we were taking a walk through the back section. I was showing him where I came out of the house, and this guy, he was the fire chief, and he was an older gentleman, and he stops dead and he looks right at me. He goes, "It's a damn miracle you made it out of this fire alive." And I said to him, well, I felt pretty good about it until you said that. Because you realize it's a fire and you're at a lot of risk, but he told me after that the amount of smoke and the kinds of materials that were burning in the house were the kind where he often sees people take like 3 steps and drop. And it was really a miracle that did not happen to me. And so just goes to show what you know in the moment, you don't, right? You just run and you do and you don't think. So that was the ordeal. We went and spent the night and the next few nights at my parents' house. They were very good about taking us all, and we had 4 kids still living with us at the time, so there was 6 of us to accommodate on a moment's notice, with nothing but our clothes on our backs, which was a new part of the ordeal. The ensuing couple of years of dealing with the insurance company, dealing with crooked contractors that screwed us over on the rebuild, and having to find temporary accommodations for 2 years for a household of 6, including 4 teenagers, was an ordeal that was actually harder than the actual fire. But we all made it through it. It eventually ended up becoming a really beautiful rebuilt house. I learned a lot of things doing the work in the house once I fired the contractor, and you've seen some of the videos for that, some of you. So all in all, an experience that I wouldn't do again and I wouldn't recommend, but a learning opportunity, to be sure. I learned how I would behave in a crisis. I wish that I had done a little better, but I blame it on the sleeping pills. So I also learned that it is important to try to keep, even when you're sleeping, some awareness. Otherwise, things could have gone a lot worse. So there you have it, guys. Don't wait until everything you own is burnt to the ground to realize that it's important to be grateful for what you have, grateful for the experience you have that teach you lessons, and grateful for emergency services, which are tax dollars very well spent, I must say, for the most part. So And grateful for your family and the ones that make it out alive, because that was the best part about the whole experience, was that nothing really, really important was lost. So anyway, there you go. Just proof that I am, in fact, invincible.